What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kickash Podcast. We are here this evening for another random impromptu live. We, of course, will be taking a look at AEW WrestleDream from last night from Tacoma, Washington, of course. The big what if was going to be what's going to happen in the main event, right? What's going to happen with Bryan Danielson? Are we going to get a Shane McMahon appearance? Just what's going to happen, right? And overall, as a pay-per-view, I think the show was fine. It was good, right? But it just felt a little, I don't know, maybe a little not off to me, but just without, besides like a couple matches, but without a real sense of purpose, almost in a way. I don't know. That was kind of my dilemma of going into it when I was doing the prediction show. Just, of course, everyone, the thing with AEW, right, that we all harp on is stories, like lack of stories and all that stuff. But some of those matches did have story, right? But some of them were just thrown together within like a week or two. So I think that may have had something to do with just my overall feeling of the show. And again, with that main event, the whole plastic bag angle with Brian and all that good stuff. So we'll definitely be talking about that, obviously. And I was debating on either starting with the main event and then kind of going and backtracking, but I think I'm just going to start from the bottom in the beginning, opening of the show, and then working my way back up. My TV did just cut off. I was going to turn it off here in a second. I meant to do it before I sat down because now the little logo in the back is going to drive me nuts. It was a nice little screensaver at first, but yeah. But as always, guys, thank you so much for joining me here. I truly appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. It does help the show out with that algorithms and things like that. So feel free to do that if you'd like. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Kickash Podcast _. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. You can also check me out over at Brass Ring Media every Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. live Eastern Time. We do a weekly show over there, pretty much talking major things, obviously, that's happened in the week prior. If there's which has been the norm as of late, a pay-per-view airing or a PLE airing live that either that night or the day following. So we'll do little predictions for that and just go over, obviously, what's going on in the wrestling world. So definitely follow us over there, Brass Ring Media on YouTube and Brass Ring _media on Twitter, I believe is the handle as well. And you can become a member over there also with all that information. But with all that out of the way, again, thank you guys for checking me out here and joining me either live if you pop in, pop out, whatever, or if you watch on replay. I appreciate that. But you can also download the audio format as well if you're more of an audio person. I used to be, but now YouTube has kind of been my jam lately. Trying to learn a little bit more, and yeah, it's just been a learning process to say the least. Hey Rewind 89, he is not here. Big Bear, good old Elvis Escobar, he is not here tonight. Yeah, I will let him know that you said hey and you were looking for him. But I would definitely relay that message. I'll have to get him back here on the show definitely soon. Because it's fun talking, especially AEW with him. He holds no punches, so I'll have to bring him on and get him throw that up there in case he watches back on replay. So we can get old Big Bear back on the show. But yeah, guys, like I said, we'll get into the card right here. If you know me, if you've seen me before, I tend to ramble a lot, so I'm gonna try not to waste too much time here. I do want to turn the TV off in the background though, so give me 1 second just to get that taken care of because it's gonna drive me nuts. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I had to, like I said, take that or turn that TV off because The screensaver went away. It's a dope screensaver, but whatever. Getting back to the important business at hand here, and that is the review of AEW WrestleDream. I did not. Well, I take that back. So I did watch a little bit of the pre-show, but that in my defense, it was because I was on break at work and they scheduled my break at 7 p.m. So I was like, what the hell? Let me turn something on and see what's going on here. Um, you miss your big you miss your big bear. I will definitely, I'm gonna throw that back up here just so he could see it in the replays. I'll let him know that you miss him. You said hey. Um, and it was not of him. It's not. I think Big Bear's wife would have a little bit of an issue of me having Big Bear as my screensaver there, Rewind 89. Those of you who have seen me and watched my streams in the past, good old Elvis Escobar has joined me in the past, and he has some fans here apparently, which we knew, but it's good to see a returning face, or person or whatever. So welcome back, Rewind 89. I appreciate that. And I'll let him know, like I said, for sure. It'll be one of the first things I do once we wrap up here. No worries at all, man. No worries. I mean, Elvis is a great looking dude. He has a great beard. He has a lot going for him. So I totally get it. That's why he's locked down. So, but yeah, I get it. You gotta shoot your shot, right? You don't know unless you know. But again, getting back to the pre-show here, and I'm going off of, again, shout out to ProWrestling.net. Jason Powell over there, he did the transcription for the pay-per-view itself, so I will be referencing that. So yeah, shout out to him. Let's see what he has. Yeah, he doesn't have much of a synopsis for the pre-show, which power to you, man. I don't blame you. It's just the results. So we got Brian Cage defeating Atlantis Jr. to win the Ring of Honor TV title because that makes sense. Anna Jay defeated Harley Cameron in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And this match, I did see clips on Twitter, of course, everyone's favorite, that Harley Cameron, I believe it, I'm not. Now that I say that, I'm kind of questioning myself. I'm pretty certain it was this match where Harley's shoulder wasn't down on the mat and the referee pushed it down to count to 3. That was interesting to say the least. But shit happens, but it's just, I don't know, like I'm always in the camp of, if you're the referee, you treat it like a real deal, is to the best of your ability that you can, right? That makes sense. And if someone's shoulder isn't down, you don't count, and if you see someone do something that could get them disqualified, you do that. It's just, I don't know, like, don't make yourself look bad. And it's just, I don't know, man, just not a good look. But then I guess in the main event, you call it, in the pre-show, we have the Acclaim beating the MXM Collection in 11 minutes and 25 seconds. We did get at one point I don't know if not a surprise debut, but it was a surprise. We got the long-awaited return that I know you guys have been waiting on for, at this point, a couple decades, of Rico. Rico is back. Rico from Billy and Chuck fame back in, what was it, 2003, 2004, possibly? Now, I'm not going to get into it right now because I don't, I got to get ready for work tomorrow, and I'm trying to get better at my side tangents as well and things like that. But, and Billy and Chuck was one of those storylines, man. If you know, you know. If you were around for it, it was something special in every facet of the word, right? But yeah, I was. To be fair, though, it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool throwback, and a good oh man, just flashback, really. And he still looks great. I can't believe I think I heard somewhere that he's in like his mid 60s, or either early or mid 60s, which is just insane. So if that's the case, man, props to him even more for staying in the shape that he does. He looks damn near the same. So again, props to him. But again, and the, I guess, main event that you would call it for the pre-show, we had the Outrunners teaming up with Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly defeating Alex Reynolds, John Silver, of course, your Dark Order. I guess what's left of the Dark Order, and Ari Davari and Tony Nese, your premier athletes, in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And yeah, that was that. I saw a little bit of this match. The Outrunners are just insanely over. Maybe not, that's a little bit overstating it, but they are getting to that point, and it's getting to the point where they're gonna have to be featured more on Dynamite, or featured period on Dynamite, and maybe taken seriously, as odd as that may sound in regards to the characters, right? But seriously in the sense of pushing them as a team. And I think it's only a matter of time now, and especially when you throw them in front of a pay-per-view audience and they get one of the best reactions. Now, granted, people are excited. It's one of the first, I guess, babyface acts that you would say. And there's always a saying, right? You wouldn't be one of the first people out to get the people out there the freshest. But it's been a common theme for them. So I think that it's something that AEW should really strike on at soon, in my opinion. Um, hey, and moving on from that, that was the end of the pre-show. We moved over to the actual card itself, and I was surprised. We opened up with Hangman Page facing off against Jay White, and this match. First of all, I love that the fans were chanting Swerve's house to kind of dig at Page. Maybe it was because they were in Washington, right, with it being Swerve's home state, which obviously makes sense, and he's promoted to be there, so of course makes sense, right? But I hope that it continues. I hope that fans throughout the country pick up, whenever they see Paige to chant Swerve's house, not have it dominate like the what chants or anything like that, but just kind of fuck with Paige, and just have the fans keep it fresh for you. That's going to make it so much easier when, not if, but when they do want to revisit that in the future. Again, no time soon. And I like that Swerve even adjusted in the media scrum. One of the only questions that the journalist did ask, because it was just wild. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what happened with that media scrum. The AEW side of things, I like that Tony Khan wasn't there and Tony Schiavone handled things. I loved Tony Schiavone being there, actually. And his interactions with Don Callis are just so entertaining. I just love Schiavone. But the journalists there, or reporters, or whatever, the media outlets, it was just like, did you not expect to ask questions? Like, why was everyone so quiet? What they did with Mariah May was just wild. Like, hardly no questions. Like, you couldn't think of anything. Like, it was just very odd to me. And tonight's drink of choice is Doritos, so shout out to them. If you guys looking for a sponsor, reach out to Old Kick Ash Podcast. Be happy to sponsor you guys and throw you on the channel. But yeah, the match itself, I love that, and kind of what I thought here. I love that Hangman's temper and moments got the better of him. But I love that at the end of the match, it was kind of what Jay White needed. It was a clean victory, and it's. And I love the transition. It was Hangman going for the buckshot lariat. Jay White reversed it and hit him with the sling blade, or the Blade Runner rather, and that was it. 1, 2, 3, and Jay White needed it, man. Jay, especially if we're gonna bring it back as a good guy, he needed that under his belt for sure. So I was very happy with that match. Yeah, I think Jason has here went 16-20, so yeah, it makes sense. Rewind says, yeah. Yo, yeah, I forgot you were Taz's number one fan. I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, since he's had his knee surgery, just had knee surgery. Yeah, old Taz. Who do you think attacked Taz? Rewind 89. Who do you think attacked your guy Taz? Moving on, the next match we have Mariah May, your AEW Women's Champion, facing off against Willow Nightingale for the championship, of course. I really enjoyed this match. I think this was probably... I really enjoyed the match for the main event. What happened afterwards kind of killed it for me. I'm not going to say killed it, but kind of dampened it for me. Obviously, the match of the night is what we'll get to here in a second. But I think this one was maybe tied for second, or if not, maybe not tied for second, but third for sure. And it has a strong running. But these women just really killed it. If you didn't see it, you may want to go back in and check this match out. Willow is just so good too, and that's why I really wish that we were in a different time frame for AEW and she could get a real run as a champion there and just see what she can do for the division and just really champion the division, right, and put it on her back. I would love to see her go back and interact with Mercedes Moné and kind of run that back, since Mercedes isn't really doing much. I mean, yes, she did in the pre-show. I did see her and Queen Aminata are gonna face off at some point. So I think that's maybe this Wednesday coming up, or sometime soon. But I want to see Willow be featured more. I think Willow, there's something there with Willow. It's obvious, really. That's nothing, no breaking news or nothing like that. But I just don't know why we don't get more stories with the women, man. And we just don't have something for them to do that's not revolving around the title. I think Willow is one of those characters that you can easily come up with some type of storyline, not revolving around the title. So I just don't know why it's not taken more seriously and showcased more, especially for something like this. Now, granted, in their defense for this match, they did have a different idea of what they were going to do originally. There was, going to be Dr. Britt Baker facing off against Mariah May. But even with that, like, we wouldn't have had much time for a good story, like a time for a substantial story to be built. And I'm not saying it has to be like, oh my God, like a Drew McIntyre Punk level story and get that serious and that deep or anything, but just something, just have a little bit of substance, So yeah, but this match, it was snug, but they connected, man. I I hate the word botches or anything like that, so I really don't use phrases like that, or I try not to. But there was really, and maybe one or two, but I don't really recall damn near any areas for improving. Like they really did great. And not that I'm sitting here trying to critique the matches or anything. It's actually the furthest thing that I'm trying to do. But especially AEW's women's division, they get a lot of hate sometimes and a lot of crap for not connecting or just having air in between their shots and stuff like that. But this one wasn't. This wasn't that. I think this is right up there with the Chris Statlander and Willow match. Of course, in a different field and a different viewpoint, but I think that for style wise, right? Different stipulations, match type, things like that. But I just love it, and I think like whatever reason, like the pounce that Willow does, for whatever reason, that just stands out to me too. It's just little things that she does. I don't know. I don't want to say she uses her size to her advantage in like a negative way, because I don't know, it's not a bad thing. Like she's not, I don't know. And I just hate when people bring that up in a negative aspect. But I really like that she plays up to her power move base, right? And what would make sense. And the pounce, I've always thought the pounce move was a cool visual. What was his name? Monty Brown, I think, in TNA back in the day. He used to have just this insane pounce. And I think it was actually called that. And it was just amazing. So this match, of course, though, went down as you would have expected. Mariah May defeated Willow Nightingale to retain the championship. And I think now it's just, depending on how soon the doctor can come back, she is out with strep throat. It's just possibly a holding pattern for either Dr. Britt Baker to come back, or just depending on who comes back, really, between Baker or Toni Storm, or if we ever get any interaction with Mariah May and Jamie Hayter or anything, really. So we'll see. Next up, we had Jack Perry facing off against Shibata for the TNT Championship. This match was good. I was not a fan of the build, or again, the lack thereof for this match. I thought it was pretty dumb that the way they set this matchup really was Shibata confronting Perry in the back with the stupid app, challenging him to the fight. Perry said, "I'll think about it," and then attacked him, and then here we go. I did like the video package, though. I thought the video package was really well done. And I thought Shibata, this was, and to be fair, like I am not, or prior to AEW, I wasn't too familiar and well versed with Shibata and his history and just him in the ring. Period. I'd heard the name, but I didn't really follow too much of him or had seen too much of his work. But this was a really good match in my opinion. He looked good. Not that I would have expected much less, but I didn't really have like many high hopes, or I didn't really expect much going into this match, really. But it was fine. I think it got the job done in the sense that they needed to have, or they didn't need, but they wanted to have the TNT title on the card. They wanted Jack Perry to defend the championship, and Shibata was there. So that's that. After though, and that was pretty much the excuse really and the reason they got this match on the card is for what happened afterwards. And that's one of the headlines coming out of the show. We had Perry attacking Shibata, and he hit him with the TNT title. That Perry set him up again to hit him, but he froze when he heard entrance music, which was that of one Daniel Garcia. He came out to face. I'm sorry, came out with face to face with Perry. Shibata got out of the ring. Perry backed down and rolled out to the other side of the ring. Of course, run off as a chicken shit heel. Cue MJF, which was our first surprise of the evening. Uh, Crowd reacted huge, and the crowd was really odd in this match too. Like, or not, I'm sorry, not this match. Well, maybe in this match too, but just in the card period, in the night period, um, it was just just an odd vibe. They got a great, or they responded great for MJF though. They definitely love some MJF. He went in the ring, approached Garcia. They kind of drawing back and forth at one another. Then all of a sudden, Jack Perry returned to hit Garcia from behind with the TNT title. Then he left again. MJF removed his jacket, unbuttoned his shirt before throwing punches at Garcia's head. MJF took the mic and brought up the bidding war for Garcia, which is what Garcia referenced on Dynamite last week. Garcia was pretty much indicating that there was a huge bidding war between, or just he of course didn't say names or anything, but that there was debate where he was going. Didn't even really say much of that. He just insinuated that he could have possibly been leaving AEW, and he stayed. MJF said more and gave us more information than Garcia did, which is in like 2 sentences, which is wild, if that. But MJF said that the bidding war was about as real as the Seattle Supersonics in 2024, which is great, because that'll always be a sore subject and a sore thorn in the side for Seattle fans. Even though they weren't in Seattle, they were in Tacoma, but whatever. It's still Washington State, right? MJF thanked Garcia for telling him that his Dynamite Diamond ring was in a pawn shop in Buffalo. MJF said it took him some time, but he found it, and now Garcia would kiss it. MJF put the ring on and then froze when he himself heard some interest music, and that was one of a blast from the past for MJF, Adam Cole. Cole walked out dressed in non-wrestling attire. He has a new shirt that he's sporting, which of course, I'm not really a fan of it, but whatever. Cole ran to the ring, which is a good sign, right? No ankle injury or anything, but I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like not cringing, but just kind of wincing, just like I was scared for him. But MJF ducked out to the other side of the ring and hit the barricade. Cole stood on the middle rope and jawed at MJF, who was standing in the aisle on the main floor. Adam Cole then helped Garcia to his feet, kind of gave him like a fist bump before going to the ropes and played to the crowd a bit. And it's just, to me, it's of course, how are we going to get back to and justify when, what was it, not even, I guess it was close to a year ago at this point, MJF, when we last saw MJF and Adam Cole interacting together, they were reversed. MJF was a good guy, well, I'll just still say, and Cole was a bad guy. I just came back, right? I'm going to give them time next week to explain and to have Adam Cole address things. And I think they need to address it. The double storyline was a big deal. And it was dominating TV time. Not dominating, but it got a good amount of TV time, got segments. They put a lot into it, right? They did a lot of filming outside of AEW. They did like those skits, whether you think they were good or not. They put a lot of work into it. So to have a storyline have that much substance, right? What we keep going back to, and for that matter, to have Mike Bennett and Matt Taven still going around calling themselves the Undisputed Kingdom, you have to wrap that up and you have to address it. Whether that's Adam Cole talking to Taven and Bennett in the back or whatever, that's that. I do know that Matt Bennett and golly, I'm just gonna say Bennett and Taven because apparently I can't say their first and last names properly. But Bennett and Taven have been showing signs that they are kind of veering more towards the good guy side. So whether it's a matter of they still keep the group together, but they are good guys now, which I think would be lame. I think Adam Cole needs to be by himself. He is a star. I think almost in a sense of come back, address it briefly in a promo, and be done with it and just move on with your life if you're Adam Cole. Say you maybe however you want to address it, say you were maybe influenced or you were trying, or MJF got to you in the sense that you converted to his side, and then you still, even though we thought MJF was a good guy, he was really just still playing us all, and he caved into MJF's ways and just whatever. If you want to blame MJF, that's fine, especially since MJF's a piece of shit now and a bad guy now anyway. It could work. So I think that you however they address it, they need to address it. But I think that if they don't, it's gonna be a miss for me, and it's just not gonna. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna make what Adam Cole is gonna be doing going forward as impactful, but it's still gonna be that elephant in the room, and it's gonna leave a lot of questions that really don't need to be questions at this point. Just address it and move on. It's pretty simple. But yeah, moving on to the next match, we had a video package, which again was a pretty good video package. To set up the AEW International Championship match. Jason Powell referenced that Ospreay's pyro is weaker than it should be, which I didn't notice that. I think I must have missed that. But this match, it was just fucking fantastic. I loved, of course, it was your international champion Will Ospreay defending the title against Ricochet and Takeshita in a three-way battle. This match was just wild, right? It was not that I go move for move anyway, but it's just one of those that like you have to watch to truly appreciate. And I'm not gonna say for me it wasn't personally like match of the year, but it was definitely up there, right? And it was one of those matches where I was kind of questioning at first making it a three-way, and then my prediction was to throw the title on Ricochet, because Takeshita and Ospreay can battle between themselves without the title really necessarily needing to be a focal point. And then Ricochet can do what he needs to do with the International Championship. He can take it wherever, go and go around the world, right, and defend the title. Yeah, you can go back and listen to my prediction show if you want to hear like the idea that I had for that. But Takeshita ended up winning here. Takeshita got the 3 count. We, of course, got interference from Don Callis. Kyle Fletcher ended up being a factor at the end. He came in and turned his back on Will Ospreay officially in solidifying his stature in the Don Callis family, right? And it looks to me like he's going to be, well, from that visual, it looked like Fletcher was going to be maybe a centerpiece. But when you go back and take a look at the media scrum, you would hope, right, with Takeshita being the newly crowned champion as well, that Takeshita is going to be a focal point. But I think that could be something that Takeshita uses as a reason to not turn on Callis, but to start to see the light. And I think maybe long term Takeshita is going to end up being a good guy, and then Fletcher is going to remain with Don Callis. I think that now, while Fletcher has some great fire on the mic and good skill, he still needs a Don Callis, in my opinion, especially starting off solo wise. But yeah, I was hit or miss with if you wanted to keep Fletcher and Ospreay together and just have like a mutual respect type thing, or if you wanted to have Fletcher completely and like solidified turning on Ospreay, and which is the obvious route that they went, but that's fine. I'm tired of the screwdriver. It doesn't make sense to me. It's eye rolling. I'm just be done with the screwdriver. It's not believable. But the match itself too, I do want to say I love the dynamic. Obviously, Ricochet and Ospreay are very, very similar, right? And they hit a lot of the moves that you would have expected them to. But I love the kind of foil that Takeshita played. I love that he kind of played the muscle route, and I love that he kind of played foil for a lot of their big spot moves, and he would wait for them to hit their moves and then react to them. Like once one would land, he would catch them and do whatever, like depending on the move that they just hit. So I just really liked that. I liked that Takeshita was kind of taking the smarter, not harder route, really, which is smart. But yeah, I really liked, of course, right? No surprise. I really enjoyed the match, but it's one of those you got to go check out for yourself to see, for sure. Randomly, really quick, we got a backstage segment with Renee Paquette standing next to Jerry Lynn and Orange Cassidy. Lynn said he's never seen anyone like Cassidy and told him that he even dressed up like him for Halloween. Lynn also told Cassidy that he could be the man if he really wants to be. And then Hook showed up, Rewind 89. I don't know, how do you feel about Hook? I don't, he he's right there with Taz, right? He's your favorite son. So what are your feelings about Hook? Um no, it's pineapple. Yeah, that was going. Yeah, no, it's pineapple. Um, but yeah, Swerve just shut up there and told Cassie that he really is the man. So Hook is the baby goat. All right. Let's see if he can live up to Taz's level of superiority, though. Right. Continuing on though, we got Prince Nana, standing inside of the ring promoting his coffee website, which is it's cool Tony Khan allows them to do that, but I just wish that we would, I don't know, like, it's a serious moment, man. Like, and that's overall, I'll say this now, that's the only real issue that I have with Prince Nana is that for me, he kind of takes the seriousness away from Swerve, and he takes that viciousness aspect away from Swerve. Yes, he did add a good dynamic for Swerve to get the crowd more involved, but the fans are already cheering for Swerve. They're already going along with this catchphrase. Yeah, it's cool to see them dance and stuff like that, but to me, it just really takes away from the moment sometimes. Um, but this set up the opportunity for MVP, or backing up a sec. Nana was out there, of course, pouring his coffee. Then he brought out Swerve. Swerve thanked the crowd for the reaction. Nana continued on with some Swerve's house chants. Swerve said the fans were saying everything he needed for him to say. Gave us an update on his medical status, which I didn't like here either. He said, it's everything that he said pretty much about Bryan Danielson, and Karma is a bitch, really. And Karma is something else coming back to get him. But he was referencing that he was feeling tinglings in like his lower back, his legs, and I think in his hands or something. But he's medically cleared, and I'm just like, how are you feeling these sensations? Which obviously means that something's not right. You know, I'm no doctor, but something's not right, possibly with your neck, bro. And you're medically cleared though. Like, to me, that was just kind of odd. Like, I would maybe want to do more evaluations on him if I was Tony Khan hearing all that, but that's just me. But MVP interrupted, which was the whole point in this segment, by clearing his throat through the microphone as he walked on the stage. MVP and Shelton Benjamin came out dressed in suits. MVP recalled giving Nana the business card to get the Swerve, who hasn't called him back. He said he's hit him up with DMs, emails, stuff like that, and no response. MVP assumed that Swerve was in deep contemplation about his future. MVP and Benjamin entered the ring. MVP said he and Swerve have history. He said he believed in Swerve before Swerve believed in himself. MVP said Swerve's career appeared to be floundering just a bit. MVP said he's good at taking former champions and making them remember things that made them great. MVP also said they should talk about business and pretty much that Swerve should take him seriously. And they referenced the match that they had back in Defy. And yeah, just pretty much referencing their history and that he can do more for him than Prince Nana has. Oh, Rewind 89. It's okay. I'm not even going to mention his name, but he literally goes from stream to stream, copy and pasting the same shit. So don't even give him the time of day, bro. But yeah, he literally copy and paste the same shit. It's quite sad. So don't give him any attention, bro. But yeah, that was pretty much MVP side of things. Swerve said MVP wasn't wrong about the things he said about Nana. Swerve said he lost his title in his childhood home under Nana's watch. Swerve said, on the other hand, he wouldn't have had all those things if it wasn't for Nana. So almost like, yes, he did lose all this shit because of Prince Nana, but he wouldn't have had anything to lose if it wasn't for Nana. So I liked that. Swerve also spoke about the history with MVP that he shared and imagined the things they could do together. Swerve told Nana there are things about him that irks him at times. Swerve said Nana is still selling weed to high school kids in the parking lot of hotels. Swerve said also that the biggest thing about Nana, he said a couple things too, but Swerve said the biggest thing about Nana, though, is that he is family. And Swerve said he doesn't approach and he doesn't turn his back on family for anybody. told MVP that he could take his business card and shove him up his ass because he's not interested. Swerve then let the crowd in some Swerve's house chants. In comes Benjamin, who had been just standing there for a while, just chilling there. Benjamin told Swerve that he misread the situation because there is no Swerve without them. Said that Swerve is either with them or against them type vibe. Nana tried to push him, Benjamin back, but Benjamin shoved him. Swerve was going after Benjamin. The MVP got in between them. In comes Christopher Daniels, which is just, he's looking like a little mini Adam Pearce to me. There was, where was it? Maybe it's coming up. A segment backstage between Kyle. Oh yeah, it had to be maybe on the pre-show. Kyle O'Reilly was backstage. They were interviewing Okada, and O'Reilly approached him, pretty much challenging him to a match. And Okada essentially just said, "Hell no, bitch," to O'Reilly. They started going after each other. Then Christopher Daniels pops up, and he's, well, of course, to break it up, right? With security and everyone. And he says, he's like, he's like, I have too much on my plate. This is gonna be one of the biggest nights in the history of AEW. I don't have time for this. Both of you need to leave the building, and kick them out of the building. But yeah. Yeah. So it's just like, really, bro? Like, okay. It's okay. But in comes Christopher Daniels again and the referees to keep the wrestlers apart. MVP pointed at his watch while looking at Swerve and then headed backstage. Swerve held his arms open, pretty much like, come on, let's go. And then looked at Nana and they shared a hug. So it was good. I really enjoyed this segment. I think it was a good vibe. It was a good setting. I think Swerve looked great here, but I'm kind of bummed. I kind of wanted to see Swerve work with not the Hurt Business, but where they're going to be the Hurt Syndicate or something to that effect. So yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. You know, I thought it would be really cool, and maybe they will. Maybe this is going to be a Swerve, right? But I think we're going to see Swerve stay with Nana for a while. And I didn't even think that Nana needed to leave Swerve. I thought they could have all been affiliated, but whatever. Next up, we had Hologram versus the Beast Mortos, and to be honest with you guys, I did not see this match. I really don't know what happened with the stream that I was watching, but I didn't see the majority of it at all. I just saw the first fall, which came within like less than 5 minutes by Mortos, which was kind of surprising. Really, I didn't expect it to happen that fast, but when you think about that they don't have that much time with all the matches that they have on the card, it kind of made a little bit more sense. But Hologram did end up defeating the Beast Mortos, and I think it was 16 minutes total to win the best of per Jason Powell, the best of the 3 falls match. Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on it much because I didn't see much of it, but yeah, the running time as opposed to stopping the clock. Okay. Jason just said he went with the running time. He didn't say much about the match either, just really that it was a lucha spot fest, so that's fine. I mean, it's fine, you know. I don't think that really needed to be on the card, but whatever. We have next up Darby Allin facing off against Brody King. In this match, again, you can hear my thoughts about the build and the prediction show. We had Paul Turner as our referee. And Excalibur referenced that Brody King, when we in the beginning part of the show, that Brody King had beaten Darby Allin in 6 of their 7 matches, which is wild to me. I didn't realize it was, first of all, that they had 7 matches total, but he had beaten them in that many, which I makes sense, but I just didn't realize it. And they noted that Allen's only win over King was in the coffin match, so he's never actually pinned Brody King, which I thought was a cool way to set up the match too. And man, that would have been cool to kind of lead into the build of the match, you know, but whatever. But Brody King pretty much dominated the beginning of the match and a good portion of it. And it's just, Darby Allin is just amazing, man. The suicide dives that he does through the ring, the speed that he gets, first of all, and the fact that this dude looks like a cannonball, like the way he curls his body up, just shoots through the ring, and the impact that he hits whoever's standing on the outside with, in this case, obviously Brody King, it's just insane. And it's just like the stuff that he can do. And I'm concerned for his back, man. Like 10 years, maybe not even 10 years from now, 5-10 years, of course, 15 years from now. I'm worried for him, man. Like, you see Jeff Hardy, right? Like, thankfully he's good, still wrestling. Changed up his style, of course, but he's still out there going strong, So there is hope for Darby Allin, but it's just Darby just does some wild things. But this match, Darby Allin went up to the top rope and hit Briddick King with a coffin drop, which led to a holy shit chance. King barely beat the referee's 3 count. Allen immediately hit King with another coffin drop and then pinned him got the 1, 2, 3 and pinned him officially. And got his second official victory against Briddick King and his first pinfall victory. I think it went out like a little over 10 minutes, so nothing too long here. And I wasn't expecting too much with the amount of matches that we had on the card itself and just the time constraints, really. But it was a good matchup. But again, it was one of those matches that really didn't need to be on the card, except for the fact that you wanted to have Darby Allin on the card. Oh, what's up, Jesse? What's up? You said can't stick around, stuck at work, just wanted to pop in, show love and support. I'll watch the full video. Oh, I appreciate that, man. It sucks. I know the feeling being at work, man. Especially on the weekends, it's no fun. But thank you for popping in, man. I appreciate that. And let me know, if you would check it out later. Drop some comments if you have any feedback or your thoughts on any of the matches, man. I'd love to hear it. But thanks for popping in. Rewind 89 says can't stand Darby Allin. He's like a 2024 version of Spike Dudley. I don't get it, but each his own. Yeah, and Jeff Hardy's spots, well, some of them made sense. Some of them were, but Darby's, to be fair, Darby's, they make as much sense as they can, some of them, I mean, I guess it's a case-by-case situation, but Darby's, you just kind of go into it with the sense of, or the template of, none of this shit is going to make sense because it's Darby, so whatever, the moves that the choice of the moves that he's going to do, right? But everything else, like story-wise, it should make sense, but the fact that he's just a crazy motherfucker out there, just doing just random shit, that kind of makes sense to me, as backwards as it sounds. And we got next up, we had the tag team match, and again, another good video package. And it's a bummer to me that we don't get this type of build going into the matches. And I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just, it shows that the thought is there and the thought with the story is there. I don't know, man. To be fair though, this match didn't really do much for me. It was kind of obvious that the Young Bucks are going to win. I was hopeful though, and I even made a case for it in the prediction show, that you should possibly have Private Party win to shake shit up, and to really possibly start like a little story that the Young Bucks can't beat Private Party, and maybe you can go that route for, obviously it's why wouldn't they be able to beat Private Party, but it's just something that you can do, do something. But I liked the video package. The thing that I'll remember from this like match and the build or lack thereof was the video package, and the fact that when I watched the package and listening to Amazing Red talk, and it was just like, which is a cool little addition there. So shout out to them for that. I just thought, man, like you just left so much on the table. And I did like how emotional Isaiah Cassidy was after the match, though. I thought maybe a little too much, but he had his almost crying. I couldn't see. I don't remember if he was actually like actual tears, but he kept his hands in his face for probably like a good couple minutes, 2-3 minutes after the match itself, and the referee helped pick him up, I think, and Mark Quinn did obviously as well. But I don't know, man. The Bucks, they just talking about weird crowd reactions. Like it was evident for this match. Like they just don't hit like they used to, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not gonna say they don't care enough to make changes, but it's kind of making you feel that way, like you're just okay with, I don't want to say being mediocre right now, but just kind of just being complacent, I'll say. I feel like that's the nice way to put it. Just being complacent. And there's so much more you could do. I don't know. It's just another frustrating moment. Especially seeing the video package, because it's almost like a slap in the face. It's almost like, man, okay, so you can think about the story, but we just don't get it. So yeah, thanks. I love the word complacent. Bring this over here a little bit more. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just not gonna say more. There's a lot more I could say, but I'm just not going to because I feel like I said earlier, broken record. Next up though, we had Mark Briscoe, which is your Ring of Honor champion, facing off against Chris Jericho. Now, this match I was surprised by the outcome. And I'm not gonna say they got me, but I really expected Jericho to win the match. And throughout the match, I was like, okay, like, and they were hitting a couple towards the end. I was like, okay, like probably not, but the beginning, I was like, man, like Jericho's getting a lot in, and Briscoe is selling a lot, but I loved the I loved the story towards the end of the match with the with the use of Jay's finisher, right? The Jay Triller. And I really liked that while I wasn't much of a fan of going the dead brother route not so soon in that sense, but just with what felt like a quick program. Because I feel like you can save that line and that route for something a little bit more, just something that's going to be longer, drawn out longer, right? I just felt like it was just like a cheap card to play really quick. Is probably the best way I can kind of sum it up. But I really liked that Jericho, first of all, that Jericho sold for Briscoe in some of the ways that he did. I liked that Jericho, say what you want about Jericho, and I've said a lot about Jericho. You never can predict the outcome of the match by looking at Jericho's face when he comes out. There's a good amount of wrestlers out there that just by looking at their face when they make their entrance, like, okay, they're probably going to lose. And Jericho, and throw one out there, correct me if I'm wrong, Jericho's never really been that guy. Jericho always comes out there, he puts on a good performance, right? Sometimes better than some are better than others, and yes, I have said multiple times that I would love to see him take 6 months off and then come back refreshed, maybe in a little bit better shape, just in ring wise. And again, I'm not in the best shape over here either, but just in ring shape wise, right? But yeah, I just think that Jericho has a way of setting up his opponents to make them look like $1,000,000, and he did that for Briscoe here. He did, in my opinion, dominate a good portion of the match, and Briscoe, I was surprised, was selling as much as he was. But I liked that the way they brought it back and the way they ended it. And they got me with the Judas effect. I was like, oh, the Judas effect between that and then the Jay Driller. I was like, they're really gonna have Jericho be that piece of shit heel beating Briscoe for the championship with the Jay Driller. I was like, no, and they didn't, but they got me. That's what I'm saying. I'll give them credit for that. And the fans reacted to it very well, also. But Briscoe hit a Death Valley driver, and then I think he hit the Jay Driller as well. On, of course, Jericho hit the Froggy Bro, which is just a fun move. Pointing to this guy, then hit the Jay Driller there, and then got the pin. And I like that he hit the Jay Driller as the move to win the match and to retain the title. So yeah, it was better than I expected. So I will eat crow when I need to, and yeah, it was much better than I expected. Wouldn't recommend anyone to make time out of their lives to go back and rewatch it, but it was fine. Yeah, it's still shaking up about the Taz incident. Yeah, Y2J, he's been doing this for I think 34 years now. It's insane. Rewind, yeah. But we have made it to our main event here. And right before we wrap up the show here as well, I just want to say thank you also to everyone for Rewind 89. Everyone else who's popped in the chat. Everyone who watches on replay, downloads later on. Appreciate all that good stuff. But the main event, I loved the match itself, right? That's what I was saying earlier. I really enjoyed the match. I love the beginning. I loved the entrances that they made. Mox looks like a badass. He's so fucking jacked too. Like, dude is just in probably the best shape ever of his maybe of his life. Just insane. He looks great. I mean, I love the visual of Marina Shafir out there with him as well. I think at the end, at one point, towards the end when she was being kicked out because of her interference, she kind of like, she was kind of like too like, oh my god, really? Like what's gonna happen? Oh my god, like I'm so like what are we gonna do now? Like it just kind of like sold that too much. I was like, okay, like you like Mox is fine. Like you should believe in Mox. Like you shouldn't be that like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like you should be pissed. And I think that's what I think it was. She should have been pissed, not like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like I'm so sorry. Like I think she even actually apologized too. Like I'm so sorry or whatever. But like it just like I don't know. Like I just that was kind of like off for me. But just nitpicking, really. Overall, I think they're great together. Um, maybe not great. Maybe that's overstating. But I enjoy the pairing, and I like that they're doing something different with Marina. They're taking her more seriously. Mox obviously has an idea. This whole thing is an idea, right? Like they have an end game to it, and there's a beginning, a middle, and hopefully the end planned out to everything. So I like that they're including a woman in it, and I like that they're making Marina look like a badass and not just someone who's just tagging along. So I liked that. But I love, speaking of knowing how the match is going to play out. Um, and this is I'm no fault of him, and I probably would have been bawling myself. But when Bryan came out, when he made his entrance, of course it was the final countdown. He was wearing a Sweet Rain jacket. Um, you could tell he was crying, man. You can tell he was emotional. It was all over his face. And I think I even tweeted about it. I was like, "Oh, the emotion just tells you right there on Bryan's face that that was it." Um, so watching that, and honestly, to me and for me, that actually helped out more because I was like, this is it. This is, and again, we're most likely going to see Bryan in a ring. I don't think this is, and they did. And to be fair, they never sold it as a retirement match, just from full time in ring, right? He's still going to be out there wrestling part time, whatever that looks like. But it is the end of an era for Bryan in that regard, and that indie era, right? It's one of the guys from that era finally, not finally, but taking a step back from the full-time world and the grind and really just enjoying the fruits of his labor, which he absolutely deserves. I'm just very thankful that we got a chance for him to come back and wrestle as much as he did, and get another, what was it, 2 years from him, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was in totality. So yeah, and I do think we'll see him back in WWE at some point. Uh, yeah, whatever that looks like. I just have that feeling, but and I loved speaking like and getting back to the beginning part of the match. I love that when he went to the turnbuckle, Mox hit him. Mox was, and that's what Bryan should have been doing from jump. It was one of my complaints that it should have been Bryan being so pissed off at Moxley and going after Moxley. But whatever. And I'm not gonna beat that dead horse anymore. But it was Moxley. They went a good probably 5 minutes. Just beating each other up outside of the ring. Moxley tried strangling him with the cord. Before the match even started. And I loved it. I love the physicality. It's a great start to the match. It's exactly what you needed, really, in my opinion. Moxley at one point put Danielson in a chokehold, which is just it's apropos, right? That's how we got here. Um, but moving on again, right before Marina got kicked out, she had ripped up the mat from outside of the ring, which played into the ending towards the later part of the match. And it was just it I know like they know what they're doing, but it makes me cringe, man, when they do it. But Moxley hit the Death Rider on the exposed floor, rolled Danielson back in the ring, covered Danielson for a 2 count. A little bit later, Danielson hit the bazooka knee for a near fall. Danielson used the ropes to pull himself up to his feet and ran into a lariat. Moxley hit Danielson with another lariat and got a near fall of his own and played to the crowd. The fans were just crushing Moxley, and I loved it. And of course, the hometown vibe too, which I get, but I think that's gonna be the vibe going forward. Moxley performed a Death Rider and covered Danielson, who kicked out at 1. Mox told Danielson not to make him do this. Danielson spat in his face and slapped Moxley. Moxley performed a God-style pile driver and then applied a bulldog choke. Danielson got to his feet, but then faded. Moxley took him to the mat and then grapevined him, and that's when the referee called for the bell. And it was just shock. People, it was that silence. It was like, oh my God, like what? And it was just, it happened. Bryan lost. And then that's when essentially all hell broke loose. Mox got to his knees, looked down at Danielson, got to his feet. Shafir, Claudio, and Pac headed to the ring. Referee raised the arm of Moxley, and this was the interesting part, who took the title and immediately handed it over to Claudio, who then placed it immediately into a bag. It was a black, like, drawstring type bag. Shafir then, of course, handed a plastic bag to Moxley, so we knew what was coming next. So pausing right there really quick, I love that little aspect, and I think that's gonna play into a big part of the story and as a big part of who is the higher power. And I think that plays into more of the notion that it is someone and not just something that Moxley is referring to that's driving him and this driving force for what he's doing. To me, it was in the notion of, okay, he won, he's almost like a mercenary. He went out there, he did the job that he was tasked to do, he defeated Bryan, he of course did what he did afterwards, which we'll get to in a second, but the main task at hand was to dethrone Bryan, to take the the title, the championship, and bring it back to his higher power, whoever that ends up being. It's, and spoiler alert, we did not get a Shane McMahon sighting here, so that's TBD how this ends up playing out. And I think that's going to lead over to World's End. I truly do. But putting it in a bag so quickly, like they did, he didn't raise the title, he didn't celebrate with it. It's literally like, okay, he was tasked with something to do and he completed it, and now he's on to the next task. And that's what they did, and I liked that aspect. It was a, they could have ended it there for me and I would have been intrigued. And then this is where, in my opinion, things got a little carried away. Of course, the plastic bag thing angle came back, right? Out comes Wheeler Yuta and Darby Allin. Allin had a chair and stopped short of hitting Shafir, while everyone else ran out to the ringside. Yuta waited for Allin, which you could tell by the setup how they did it. uh Allen was at one side of the ring. Eula was kind of where the camera was. He was kind of like to the left, and you could see the view. Wheeler waited for Allen to turn around and then hit him with a running knee strike, and then just immediately got to his knees. Yuta did, and just put his hands in his face, and it was just like he was ashamed of what he was doing, type thing. Which I'm not a fan of that. Big Bear, Rewind 89. Big Bear is not a fan of Yuta, I believe. And I think, I'm pretty certain that's his feelings. If it's not him, it's someone else I'm thinking of. But I agree. Yuta is just, there's just something that I can't connect with. And I think they're going to take the story of, if since he couldn't beat them, he had to join them. And I'm not a fan of that. I get it. And in a lot of situations it works and it could work, but it's just, I'm not a fan of that. Um, yeah, okay, Rewind 89. You said, yeah, I believe you said, and 100% agree with you, Shane McMahon will make his debut in the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be at World's End, man. I think that's December 28th. I think it's going to be there. But Moxley handed the plastic bag to Yuta, who then put it over the head of Danielson, while Allen was forced to watch from the corner. Security ran out and were unable to get inside the ring. In comes Private Party, running out, and Moxley grabbed both of them at ringside. In comes Jeff Jarrett, and the line of the night from JR, good old JR, who came out for the final two matches. He said, "Oh, not Jeff Jarrett." Like, Jeff Jarrett's gonna stop shit, which is just fucking great. I love JR at this point in his life. Always been a fan of his, right? But it's just even more so now. But he was also roughed up by Mox. Claudio put a chair around Danielson's neck, who had been suffocated at that point. It was just, pretty much had no life left to his body. Because, of course, now twice, he's been threatened with his life. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know what words I can say, but attempted murder, right? Poor guy. All he wants to do is wrestle and just defend his title, and they keep trying to kill him. So there's that. Mox said something to Danielson, and then Claudio stomped the chair. Like, this dude ran and stomped the fuck out of the chair. Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, who had also made his way out at some point, and others ran, or right here, Orange Cassidy, Garcia, and others ran in, and then the heels all made their exit through the crowd. Cassidy and a security guard removed the tape from Allen's wrists. EMTs came out with a stretcher to the ring. The ring crew came out and removed the bottom rope while Danielson was showed lying face down in the ring. Shivani said this was about quality of life and not just the end of the career. The crowd chanted, "Thank you, Bryan," as he was placed on a stretcher. Shivani said he's seen a lot of bad stuff, but not like this. Cassidy and Allen, which I think was a great visual and a great way to end it. Sat at ringside looking just defeated, and I think Cassidy as well, but just both of them really just sold it so well. Like the expression on their face, like go find that image. It was just so well done. But then yeah, the show went off the air with Danielson strapped to the stretcher. Um, and I like it. If Danielson's gonna go out, he went out with a bang. I'm just the second I saw the plastic bag, I checked out. I was just like, all right, this I come on. The first time it made me much more upset than it did this time because the first time I was like, what the fuck? Like why? Like it came out of nowhere, and then this time I was just I rolling my eyes like really like we're doing this again. You're just doubling down on it. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of the whole plastic bag aspect of it. But I love them putting the title in the bag. I wish they would have just I I was gonna say I wish they would have just ended it with that, but I loved almost everything besides the plastic bag part. Like I love the chaoticness of it. I love that they were bold and ended the night on a note by not having a good guy go over, right? And yes, they could have still had Danielson lose, but had Danielson and maybe not shake hands, right? But you could have had Danielson just accept defeat, kind of have that moment in his hometown crowd. But they didn't. They went with damn near killing the motherfucker, right? Like not like trying to suffocate him, having him leave on a stretcher. Thankfully, this time they had a stretcher for him, and I just carried him out. Four guys, each grabbing a limb and just carrying him out with the oxygen mask over him, right? So there's that. But yeah, I think that sometimes they, as a company, just do too much, and I'm a fan of less is more. Like, leave me wanting more. That's the whole point of getting repeat business. You're keeping your people hooked. Um, Pun intended for Taj, right? But I like that they were bold with taking the title off of Danielson. I wish that they would have done more leading into it and really having us question going into Saturday if it's really going to be Danielson's last full-time match. Like they should have hyped the fuck out of Bryan being on Dynamite this past week and that potentially being his last match ever on Dynamite and his last appearance on Dynamite for who knows how long. I just feel like they left a ton of money on the table. Uh, but I again I like probably the majority of how it ended. Overall, as a show, I think that it was fine. There was just too much filler for me. I think there was just too many things that just felt forced to be on the card just to say you have like a stacked card, match wise, match count wise. But I do feel hopeful going forward. I do feel like, okay, they're getting another opportunity here to kind of shake shit up, to start fresh, and they should with MJF, with Adam Cole, with Daniel Garcia. I do kind of feel for Garcia because I feel like he's gonna be overshadowed by Adam Cole. But it's fine, I guess. But I'm intrigued to see how that plays out, how they're gonna have Adam Cole address everything, and if they do, which I hope they do, what MJF is gonna focus on first going forward. Probably not Garcia, right? Probably gonna be focusing on Adam Cole. Who's gonna call out who? Is it gonna be MJF calling out Cole or vice versa? But yeah, so that leaves you with questions right there, right? And then the TNT title, does that play into things? Or is that just, was it a way to have Garcia now focus on the TNT title and have Adam Cole focus on MJF and kind of wrap that up with Garcia and Cole or Garcia and MJF rather? So I think that was well done. And then of course everything that we just discussed with the main event, we have a ton of questions coming out of that. Who the higher power is going to be? Is it actually going to be a physical person like a Shane McMahon, which I think it will be, or like some people have predicted like just an entity, like a thought process, right? Like Mox is just guided by violence. So yeah, I think there's a lot of questions going forward, and I think it's now the ball is in AEW's court for the follow-up, and I think that's going to be key. So with that being said, thank you guys for checking out the show, Rewind 89. I appreciate you being there, Jesse, for popping in. I appreciate everyone popping in and for watching in a replay when you get around to it, for downloading the audio, following, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. And until next time, guys, I'm not sure when I'll be back on here, but it'll definitely be within the next few days or sometime this coming week. We're going to have a busy week at work, just catching up from the hurricane and stuff like that. But I would definitely pop up on here at some point. Probably random because that's just how I do shit apparently. But as always, thank you so much. Um, I have one more. Thanks for rewinding. Let me see what you said. You say your opinions and your takes are very interesting. They are positive. Even the stuff you don't like, you put a positive spin on it. It's very refreshing. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Um, I try not to be, Debbie Downer over here. I try to look at the bright side of things too. And just because it's so easy to shit on stuff, right? And I feel like a lot of people, and especially in the wrestling world, just shit on stuff just to shit on it, or they just it's either one extreme or the other, right? Like they love everything and everything is just like sunshines and rainbows, right? Or it's the exact opposite and everything sucks. Like they just hate watch, and that just like always like confused me as well. Like time is so precious to everyone, and you decide to waste it on shit that you deep down do like, and you just have more fun being negative for whatever reason, or you just truly hate it. And if that's the case, then like find something you like, bro. Like I don't, just very odd to me. But I really appreciate your opinions and your interactions, and you commenting, Rewind 89. And I would definitely reach out to Big Bear. Like I said, I will let Big Bear know that we need to have it back on the channel here, and I'll make a post of that. So maybe you can check that out, and I will let you know. But thank you, man, and thank you everyone for checking out the show. Like I said, I appreciate it. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at @KickashPodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. Feel free to check me out over at Brass Ring Media as well on YouTube every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. live. But yeah, like I said, until next time, stay safe out there, guys, and enjoy some wrestling. Bye.